Now introducing your 2015 Illini Drive All-Stars. The sophomore social media guru from Naperville, Illinois, Mr. Jeff Omer. Second, the senior co-host and one half of the Twin Towers from St. Charles, Illinois, Steve Bourbon. Third, his counterpart, the always sarcastic and a fan of no team on the show, senior co-host Sam Sherman. Last but not least, the senior producer from Chicago, Illinois, Torrance Sorrell.
Hello and welcome to Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1. I'm Sam Sherman, joined alongside my guys, JJ Wilson. I'm going with JJ this week.
It's fine.
I mean, you like that more, don't you?
JJ, that's
JJ Wilson.
You gotta play it by feel, you know?
JJ just looks cool and proud.
Stephen Bourbon.
Always Steven.
Yeah, always Stephen Bourbon.
I'm consistent like that.
Torrance Sorrell, our producer, and our social media guru, Jeff Omer. How you doing, Jeff? I'm actually wondering specifically how you're doing today.
Well, I'm kind of wondering what's up with you just calling me your guy. And
You
not
guys are all
your
my guys.
guy. I'm
You're
your
my
guy,
guy.
not your
My guy.
You kind of just cut me low there.
Well,
You thought I was better than that.
You know,
Sam.
people always, like, by people, I mean me. I always say that, you know, the show's going to be a really good one this week. And it always is a good one. But this week, it's going to be really good. Today's going to be a really good show. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Specifically, I kind of want to, we're going to talk some basketball. We're going to talk some baseball, some Illinois baseball.
Returns, yeah.
They did something pretty impressive this weekend.
Yeah, they had a good weekend.
And we've got some people coming in.
Again.
Yes, we've got some special guests from Illinois baseball, and then we're going to actually close out the show by talking some NFL. I was calling it NFL hot stove before.
Not a thing, but NFL free agency.
Yeah. NFL free agency. There's a lot of the Bears have actually been active. So I think they're starting to sort of reshape some things. First things first, we're going to talk about Illinois basketball. Traveled to, actually all three of us, and by all three I mean myself, Steve, and JJ. We all were in West Lafayette on Saturday. And we were there. Actually, Steve, you were just there as a fan. JJ and I were there professionally, of course. And no, really, it sounded like I was joking there.
As professional as it gets.
Yeah. So Illinois lost to Purdue, and it was a game that would have been pretty much for either team had they won. Obviously, Purdue won, but if Illinois had won that game, it would have been huge. Purdue won it; it's huge for them, and turns out it's going to make the Illini's path to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, a whole lot harder because now they're going to have to play Michigan in the opening round of the Big Ten tournament, and then if they can beat Michigan, Wisconsin. But first, let's go to that Purdue game. What happened, Steve?
Well, I mean, Illinois started out on fire. They were up 15-2. They were up 26-13. Rayvonte Rice threw down a nasty alley-oop. If you haven't seen it, YouTube it right now.
Unreal.
But I mean, yeah, all of a sudden Purdue kind of flipped a switch and defensively, and got themselves back into the game. I thought freshman point guard for Purdue, PJ Thompson, came into the game and really kind of changed the tone.
Mm-hmm.
He was very disruptive on defense. He literally took the ball from Jalen Tate and laid it up in his own backcourt.
Yeah, he just made that look so easy too.
Yeah, and then whenever Purdue could get the ball inside to Hammonds, it was over. Your guy, AJ Hammonds,
my guy,
had 16 and 10
Mm-hmm.
for Purdue. He was big. Rafael Davis hit some big shots, and as much as Purdue tried to give the game away in the last minute, ultimately it was too much.
It was really incredible the how Illinois kind of came out of the gate in that one. I mean, to go up 15-2, and it looked like, when you go up by like that amount, every team makes runs, so you knew that Purdue wasn't going to just like lay down and lose that one.
Yeah.
But it looked like with how poorly Purdue was playing and how hot Illinois looked in that opening half, it really didn't look like they were going to give that up.
1-0 that you and I talked about. We talked about it and compared it with the football closer, the regular season close game against.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Now we talked about how, of course, it's going to come down to that last game. And, you know, for the first 15 minutes, it felt a little bit like that Illinois Northwestern football game where, you know, as someone watching specifically Illinois, you felt comfortable with how they were doing. But after the last 5 minutes of the first half, it just was not going.
It was kind of the inverse of when the two teams played here. I know Purdue had led most of the first half here, and then Illinois made a late run right before halftime.
And this was before it was known that Purdue was sort of a strong team.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone thought Purdue was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Illinois came out and that they had that same sort of sense of urgency that, they had against Northwestern, I thought, very early in the game. But, once Purdue started playing defense, Illinois just could not score outside of Revante Rice.
No, it got, just the flip switched at half and nothing was really going down. Something that I wanted, just kind of being at Mackey Arena and seeing that place for the first time. Steve, obviously you're not your first time at Mackey, but JJ and I think that was your first time there as well. That was just a tremendous place to watch a game of college basketball.
I might be a little biased, but I think it's definitely one of the better places in the conference to see a game. Definitely one of the best places I've been to. It's not the biggest stadium; it only holds about 14,000, but they had to sell out there, and everyone actually showed up, which was I guess kind of nice to see.
The first thing I noticed is I walk in and I just saw, and I'd heard it's not the biggest arena. I think it holds a little over 14,000. And but the one thing I knew was going to be the case is that place was going to get loud because when you have a kind of a smaller arena, I think I'm not a scientist of any sort, but it seems as though that kind of captures the noise more. And man, was that crowd loud.
It didn't take much.
No.
Even I think Matthias hit a 3 to make it 15-5.
Yeah.
And they were instantly back in the game.
And if you want to know, if people ever question home court advantages or just how much a crowd can impact the outcome of a game, you saw it right there. And you're right with that Dakota Matthias shot. At the time, I saw him hit that, and I was like, really? I thought it was like a Bronx cheer. Oh, they finally hit a shot. But they were just absolutely. Just right in it the entire time.
Yeah, it was a great game, great crowd for their seniors. Purdue only had 2 seniors, 1 scholarship player, but it was a pretty rowdy environment. And
I wanted to compare that. This might get a little controversial if we talk about this in Champaign.
Dr. Sam Sherman wants to get controversial.
But the Purdue crowd was. I'm just gonna say it. I don't want us, to kind of jump around this. The Purdue crowd was better than any crowd I've ever seen at an Illinois basketball game.
Or this season?
Ever. And I was at the Tyler Griffey game winner against Indiana game.
Okay.
That was great. It was great when they won and people stormed, and that was sort of a fun thing to see. But in terms of energy and just being in the game the entire time and just really creating that home court advantage in that environment and that really intimidating environment, I've never seen Illinois fans bring that. Again, I'm sure that I know that there was a time when they did, but in my time going to Illinois games, I haven't seen that.
I think it's just Purdue. They seem to have a higher ratio of students to the whole crowd. Their student section gets 6 whole sections out of the whole place, whereas Illinois, you have the Orange Crush right on the floor, and then other than that, it's kind of sporadic. So I think that definitely kind of plays into it a little bit.
When it comes to that, what you said earlier, I don't know if I've never heard a game better. I think that I've heard games where the students have been louder, but I think on a consistent.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No,
because I was at the Tyler Griffey game too, and I totally disagree. If you compare those 2 games, the Tyler Griffey game was outrageous for student fans.
I understand, but Illinois fans get a little sleepy during the games, and that's what I think is what I noticed the most at Illinois games in terms of one burst of fans cheering. Illinois has had that before, but it seems like you got to stay in it. And it's if you go to Illinois and you're only seeing Illinois games, you almost feel fans only get excited when good things happen. But Purdue fans were staying in it. And it's only my first time there seeing that. I'd like to go back. It was a really fun environment. But I think they absolutely had an impact on that game.
Well, I think there's a certain disappointed expectation when it comes to Illinois fans watching the game, because now this is the fourth time in a row, or not in a row, fourth time this season that they've blown double-digit leads.
Yeah.
They had 13 points on Michigan in that game they lost in overtime, 13 points on Oregon, 11 points on Indiana, and now they had 13 points on Purdue. I mean,
you look at, being on the wrong side of the bubble as of right now. I think Lenardi has them sixth out, the sixth
I think
out.
Jerry Palm has them in
Right.
like a
which is
plain.
generous.
Yeah,
There's
very.
a chance to last in on Palms last time
Yeah,
I saw.
which is really, I don't really know exactly why, because they're not in right now. I mean, obviously they have 19 wins.
If you look at their schedule, it's not, I know it is about wins, but it's also about where they've won. And when it's away from home, they haven't won really. They won that big game at Michigan State. They won that Las Vegas tournament. And then they also won that Northwestern game, but otherwise.
Yeah, 2 road wins all season.
2-8.
In Chicago.
They 2-8.
That's about as, when you play Oregon, that's about as close to a home
And
game as you're gonna
don't
get.
you guys notice, especially, I mean, this has just gotta bug the team and fans as well. You look back and you just say, that Oregon game, one you had to win. And I know it's on the road, but that Michigan game, one you had to win.
Even
And
Minnesota and Nebraska, how bad they were.
but I mean, in those ones, it's a little bit. Well, that Nebraska game, I never want to talk about again.
Yeah.
But really, it's like it comes down to, I had some overreactions earlier in the season, like especially after that Michigan game, in just terms of where I thought this team was. But in college basketball, you get down to when you're a bubble team, and suddenly it's like, you kind of wonder why they couldn't have just closed out in some of those. Because then we're not really even having this bubble conversation. If they win at Michigan and win at Oregon, then they're pretty comfortable right now.
Just I think just taking care of business.
Yeah.
Not letting a lead slip away. And
Yeah.
and even in games where they didn't have leads, I mean, against Nova, they were down 2, they couldn't get over the hump. Against Miami, they were right there, couldn't get over the hump. So I mean, down the stretch, this team has kind of struggled, and now they're facing a pretty daunting task. I mean, looking at the Big Ten tournament, as far as bubble teams go, I mean, I think they've got the hardest path. Michigan without LeVert obviously is not anywhere where they thought they'd be, but I mean,
They've got guys who can really go off scoring, yeah.
Or throw down a monstrous jump
Yeah.
at the State Farm Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they've got Spike Albrecht, who'll make some circus shots and like his threes. He'll hit his threes. So, the fact is like Michigan. I don't think is going to go in there thinking like, this doesn't matter. They're gonna try and end Illinois' season. I think that especially they think that's they didn't like losing. They didn't like losing in Champaign. Exactly.
They let that one get away.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I mean they're gonna want revenge, and that's what these teams that aren't gonna that have no chance of the tournament are gonna really try and do when they have these opportunities to kind of play spoiler, and that's and again, like let's just say they beat Michigan, which isn't unreasonable to think they could very well do that. Then you go into just the gauntlet of Wisconsin.
Yeah, one quick more thing that I noticed from the Purdue game that I think they really have to fix going into the Big Ten tournament right away is, Anna Egwu and John Gross have said all year that Jalen Tate has that command at point guard, and he did not have that.
It seems like he's waned a little bit down the stretch.
That game, it was a dramatic drop. And I'm not saying that Jalen Tate can't get it back because, I've watched him have that command they've talked about, and I've recognized it too. But, it was not.
But all Purdue had to do was put sort of like, a stronger P.J. Thompson on him. P.J. Thompson isn't even, you said
he's probably about 5. He's probably a little barely taller than a monster.
and they just they got him into their recruiting class like last second.
Yeah, when so if anyone remembers, Ronnie Johnson was their starting point guard for 2 years. He left after his brother graduated. So Purdue kind of needed a point guard, and signed. I think they offered, and P.J. Thompson signed within 3 days, right before the end of the class. But
Here's a guy that and that's just good coaching, I guess, or at least experimental. Put him in there, and he was able to just kind of bully Jalen, and it caused problems.
yeah, his jumper just needs so much work, and it just cripples you on offense when you have basically a free safety on there that can play off of him and clog up the lanes for Rayvonte or Malcolm or Kendrick, whoever it is. I mean, he needs to be able to have defenses respect them.
Real quick, just a little bit of an update. No Illini basketball players was named to the All Big Ten first, second, or third teams. There was an honorable mention for Malcolm Hill and Rayvonte Rice.
Yep.
And obviously, Egwu made the All Big Ten defensive team.
I mean, and actually, good for Agwu. He obviously earned that. I thought that for stretches of this season, you could even make the argument he would have been right up there with guys who could have won Defensive Player of the Year. That went to Raphael Davis from Purdue, who, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the statistics. I don't follow Purdue that closely enough, but I'll take their word for it.
Painter, for whatever it's worth, said he was one of the best defenders he's ever coached.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to quantify defense. For big guys, it's the blocks, but for these perimeter guys, it's kind of more how you can shut down other opposing players, and there's not really stats for that, but.
Well, the Illini go up north to Chicago this week on Thursday, and they're going to take on Michigan in their first game of the Big Ten tournament. I believe that's at 11.
It's the early game.
The early game. So
first game of the day.
Yeah, could be a sleepy one, or maybe they'll come out with some energy, and we'll see what they can do. We're going to take a break here on Illini Drive, but when we come back, we're going to be talking some Illinois baseball, who had a big weekend, big series win. We're going to be actually talking with Anthony Milazzo and Charlie Naso.
This is Stephen Bardo. If you want all the latest and greatest in sports, check out the Illini Draft, WPGU 1071.
Welcome back to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071. We are now joined with Anthony Milazzo and Charlie Naso. How you doing today, guys?
I'm not sure to do it with my hands right now. This is the first time they ever let us.
Occasionally just touch the mic a little bit.
Yeah. First time they let us talk to you. We're kind of, we're kind of the dangerous people to talk to on the team, I guess.
Oh, yeah. We're going to play on that a little bit.
We're going to get somebody fired today.
All right. Well, hopefully not any of us, but yeah.
All right, so let's talk about that weekend, guys. How's it feel to be? You guys are 19 now. You guys said?
Yeah, number 19 in the country. It was I'm gonna say a savage weekend for us. That's kind of the team mentality we have right now. We celebrate. We're always going for the sweep or the series win on Sundays. So we like to have a savage mentality when we get out there.
He's using the word savage because on Sundays we have this thing called Savage Sundays, so it's good for us. We don't let ourselves say the word savage on Sunday until Sunday. So. We're bringing it special to you guys right now that we're saying savage in the studio.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The whole team will not say it. Like, you can try to get it out of them. They will not say it on Sundays. So we go crazy on Sundays. And we started off with a little Oklahoma drill that Anthony could tell you guys about.
Yeah, we since it was Oklahoma State, number 10 Oklahoma State this weekend, we decided it'd be a good idea before the game in the bullpen. We do the football Oklahoma drill. 2 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen, a linebacker and a running back, and we just run some of the freshmen through that, just kind of get us. I think that worked pretty successfully. Nobody died yet. So.
Well, that's good. Just to refresh, the Illini won 2 of 3 games, won the series.
Yeah, it was a really good series. Really good pitching out of Kevin Duchesne and John Kravitz on Sunday, and then Tyler J closed the door both games. So I mean, he always closes the doors.
Yeah, Tyler got Big Ten Pitcher of the Week this week.
Surprising to see.
Yeah, he has a 0.0 ERA this year. I mean, that's
our mentality with Tyler right now is he goes pro, we go pro. So
he's got to take you with him.
That's kind of how it's going for us right now.
I'm familiar with the show Entourage.
Fair enough.
All right, so who's E and who's Turtle?
I'm gonna be Ari. I've told Tyler I'm gonna take most of his money, embezzle it for him, and see what we can do. He's definitely more of a turtle.
I'm a turtle guy. I can drive a car. That's nice. About it, and I can freeload pretty well. So I think that's what I'll be doing.
So what's the clubhouse's energy right now, kind of going into this? I mean, this is a pretty exciting start for you guys heading home.
Yeah, this is I don't know how this has got to be one of our best starts in I don't know how many years. Against Savage, we are a real high energy team right now. We like to have fun. Before the game, when it comes to game time, we like to think that we can kick it into gear and carry ourselves like we've been there before. But before and after the games and a lot of time during it, we like to push the limits.
Yeah, I'd say like music on the back bus. So like main reason I travel right now is because I got
the only reason you travel right now.
Yeah, only reason is I have this like big like boombox wireless speaker type thing, and we just blast music in the back of the bus and everyone just goes wild. You guys don't follow us on Snapchat, so you won't be able to see that. But, we have
we're the bad boys of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That's our self-proclaimed title. We're trying to do something.
Yeah, we're actually trying to make Death Row shirts for the pitchers. If you haven't seen that yet, but I've been tweeting a lot. You'll see some other guys, but they've been copying me. Bad boys of the Big Ten TM with it. So people have been using that, and that's kind of like like Coach Harlow wanted us to have some sort of identity. So I mean,
I don't think this is the identity he wanted.
I don't
Probably.
think it's the identity he wanted.
He didn't want you to throw back to the Pistons.
We had it last year, but we brought it a little more this year with Bad Boys Big Time. I think it was a little edge.
With the music, what are you blasting? What's your go?
Number one song going to a game is Bad Boys for Life by P. Diddy. And then when we win, I don't know if you guys watched the San Francisco Giants celebrations from the World Series.
Right.
They always played Brick in Your Face by But I mean, it's not a suitable song, but it's a championship. It's just like everyone's
Right. No karaoke on the road.
There's nothing to do with the song.
We use the edited version.
Yeah.
Right. Of course. I know Sam Sherman's probably a little disappointed. No nods toward Drake.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, is there any Drake on the bus?
Yeah. When
What's
it came.
the song that says "We eat what we kill" or whatever? That's the. we listen to that line to get ourselves ready to go.
Yeah, we just play that song though, and then Ryan Nagel likes Mike Stud. If you guys have ever heard of him, he just likes going, "Oh yeah," like all the time. So like, you guys will go to your first home game this weekend. You'll hear us all in the dugout when he comes up, and everyone will be like, "Yeah," and that's all you'll hear, like, because that's all he talks about is Mike Stud, who's kind of like a Drake ripoff, if you ask me, but I still listen to him.
So with this whole, savage mentality, I guess, where did that come from? Is that something you guys have done for years, or is it something that's kind of new this year?
I think Chuck just played a really kind of hardcore song on Sunday, the first weekend series, and it just stuck.
I can literally look through the playlist I have for the bus.
We do a Saturday playlist.
It's bad. Not bad, but
all
just,
edited versions, of course.
Yeah.
Very responsible.
We have.
We also have Chapel on
a lot of
Sundays,
Little
too.
John. We have a lot of Little John, a lot of T.I. Hit 'Em Up by Tupac.
Typical Chapel songs.
Yeah. We combine the Chapel with the bus ride.
Right.
Yeah, some like teen punk rock from the early 2000s and stuff like that. But I would say actually our strength coach started sending us text messages before our games, and he put like #savages, #feed the wolves. So we just started like kind of making fun of it, but then it turned into a real thing. So
See, because like with baseball, I never really would have guessed that, mainly because I'm not. Sam always gives me crap for not being the biggest baseball fan in the world, even though I'm a baseball reporter. I just that the pace of the game.
If we
is
can play the game, you can report it. I mean, really, if we can be considered playing.
I'm a journalism major, so I could be doing yours thing too.
Oh, there we go. Glad to have fellow.
You could be doing what Steve does, no doubt. No.
That's
They don't want to do that.
I think you're doing good, Steve.
Oh, okay. That's all I really want to do.
It seems like with this sort of savages, all this kind of stuff, the mentality that you guys have taken, it almost like I'd be afraid if I was an opposing team. It sounds like that's
When you see us doing the Oklahoma drill in the outfield before the game, I'm afraid for us.
Yeah, it was because the walls at Oklahoma State were hiding us back there, so none of the coaches saw us. But the bullpen gets a little rowdy when we're hitting like that. There's some weird stuff going on back there. I can't tell you, can't go into details, but it's a pretty fun time about the 6th through 9th inning if you guys ever want to come back.
Now, does someone like Will Krug get involved? That Dirks Bentley listening guy?
Yeah. No.
No, we just not.
Will's studying engineering at the front of the
Yeah.
bus.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the Oklahoma drill, who stars? Who's
We
what was our lineup this weekend? It was offense. Anthony, were you at quarterback?
I was the coach.
Anthony was the coach.
Nice.
Doug Hayes was our running back. He's standing 6'2", a mean 140, dripping wet.
He's a finesse back.
Exactly, real crafty kind of guy.
Yeah.
With the offensive line,
the offensive line was a combination of J.D. Nielsen and was it Nick?
It was Mamlick.
It was Andrew Mamlick, who are very skinny, tall kids versus me on the defensive line, and I think
Cody Selak, who can bicep curl chucks.
Yeah, and then we had Nick Blackburn at linebacker, so we were plugging up the holes pretty well, and I think Doug's feeling it still from Sunday.
Yeah. We kind of were afraid of the whole varsity blues where Doug would get tackled and lose his torso and legs and separate. I ran it the other way one time.
I brought the boombox out and I started playing "Hero" by Foo Fighters out on there.
Oh, nice.
So we got some varsity blues there.
So now that you guys are home, how does that savagery, transition into home? I mean, what more can you do? Yeah.
It's going to be amplified. I really, I don't want to give away all of our secrets because
Of course,
we're on a
of
roll
course.
right now. But we're not going to be stepping back in any stretch of the means, especially since we'll have our clubhouse to get ourselves really jacked up and ready to go. I would just stay away from the dugout.
I was gonna say, is there any kind of superstition, in the clubhouse?
You
all
can't
across the
say,
board?
unless you're in an interview, like we have immunity right now, you can't say savage unless it's Sunday.
Okay.
And if you do, there are severe repercussions we cannot discuss on air. But that's our main superstition. It's S word. You can't say savage.
Okay.
Are the freshmen must be like
Terrified for their lives.
They are. We have officially put real estate in their brains. I think they don't know what's going. They don't know what they're stepping into. So I mean, it's cool though
And
because
they're pledges, not freshmen, by the way.
Okay, so with the pledges, I mean, will there ever be a moment where you guys?
no hazing though.
No.
Of course.
So will there ever be a moment when you guys go up and if you feel like one of them's having a hard time, you just go, hey, it's just we're all in this together.
Absolutely not.
Good.
That's what you like to hear. Alone, as secluded as possible. I'm just trying to make them mentally tough. They'll thank us one day.
No,
We're all part of Tyler's entourage.
no, for real. I mean, they carry their buckets and stuff like that and do their freshman things, but at the end of the day, they're still part of the team. So I mean, we let them in on
Well,
some stuff.
it sounds like it's working though. I mean, all this stuff is you guys have had a lot of success this season, so.
Well, we're just older guys. I mean, there's I think 4 new guys on our team this year, so we really mesh well because we've been together for so long. So it's like, what are we going to come up with this weekend to do something ridiculous to keep us entertained? So the Savage Sunday was a thing, and then Bad Boys of the Big Ten. And it just, I think it's things like that like get people out to the games too. Just see some stuff like that.
So coming up, I know you guys have. Is it your first weekend at home here coming up this week and then the weekend? I mean, what are you guys looking forward to here coming at home?
We're looking forward not to be going to Southern Illinois this weekend because we always make that trip, and it's not the best place in the world to be in Carbondale. So,
Shots fired.
Yeah, no, sorry, Southern Illinois, but we don't really like going there.
No, you can't take it back. You threw it out there.
I did throw it out there. I mean, that's the bad boys. That's the bad boy lifestyle. You gotta live like it. But no, it's nice. It's nice. 9 games in a row at home. I think. Just getting caught up with school. I'm so backed up. It's ridiculous. So
Chuck's very backed up right now.
Yeah.
Just want you all to know that. I think it'll be good that we don't have to go. That's what let's take care of that for him. It'll be nice not having travel days where we're taking a 12-hour travel day. We gotta get off and play the next 3 days in a row. I feel like we'll have if anything, a slight advantage going to these games, and these are the most important ones to keep us rolling. So
yeah, that right there is why they don't let us on these. It was like Matt came up to us and he's like, "Oh, you got to go with the position player." I'm like, "Nope, just me and Milazzo only."
He did say, "Don't get me fired," so come after me. Don't come after Matt.
Yeah.
No liability here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're all good.
So I guess you guys out in the bullpen, for the whole game. I mean, what's going on? I mean, what do you guys?
Well, it's not the bullpen. It's the yard. We're death
yard.
row. The bullpen is death row. Our pitching coach, Coach Drew, he's the warden of death row.
Okay.
And we're out there in the yard. Usually Cody and Tyler are trying to find things that they can work out with. If they're, whether that means
Just get a quick
squatting
bump in.
with somebody
Yeah.
on their back or something like that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get like a bench press out there, so we can and just some tank tops before we get loose, repping some bench press, because that's the Seblock and Tyler J way. That's how they get loose. I like to call them hardos because they think they can lift everything in the world.
They can.
One day we were in the indoor and I told them, all right, we're having a competition, like we're gonna try to lift everything in here, and whoever can lift the one thing loses. And they're like, all right, let's do it, come on, let's go. And they're just like, they're just big meatheads, but I guess it works because they throw hard.
I was gonna say, how long till they turn the jerseys into cutoffs?
We have the best jersey. We've been campaigning to wear no undershirts for a long time, but it keeps getting shot down.
Also V-neck undershirts have been.
Yeah, we're trying to get some really deep V under that. Just to continue the bad boy lifestyle.
Our own personal rebrand, we like to call it.
Yeah.
Personal rebrand. I like that.
So not a fan of the Southern trip, but I know you guys play a lot of those midweek games against other places like Eastern and ISU. Is Southern still the worst down there, or?
No comment.
Well, Eastern, I think Eastern we always play neutral territory.
Yeah, that's actually a weird one.
And then Illinois State. I think Illinois State's kind of cool because I know a lot of people that go to Illinois State, so there's always a lot of the games. And I like their field, but I haven't been to SIU's new field yet. What other midweek trips do we do? We do the Busch Stadium one, but we're not doing that this year.
Yeah, that's the most fun. When we play Mizzou at Busch Stadium, that's always fun. Chuck pitched there last year and didn't zip his pants.
If you guys want, yeah.
His dad has footage of it somewhere.
No, it's actually in the highlight video. If you guys,
is it?
If you guys want to skip up to that. I know the guy that does the highlight videos, and he made sure he put that in there for me. But yeah, I was going to the bathroom in the bullpen at Busch Stadium, and he called me to warm up, and unfortunately, I forgot to zip my pants. I got into a 2 count on the guy on Mizzou. I struck him out, and they started yelling, your fly's open, your fly's open. So I stood up and went like this. I was walking around the mountain, I struck him out, and I zipped up my pants, and he was like, everyone's just laughing.
I'd like to think that's a one-time thing, but living with Chuck, that's a pretty common occurrence. He's wearing pants. That's really, that's a sexy.
It's a good day, right?
That's a great day.
So
for me, it's just boxers.
So while we have you guys for immunity, any tease you can give the fans for the savagery they can expect this?
I mean, if it was Sunday, I would be happy to, but I'm sorry, we just
Fair enough. Keeping it all under wraps.
They have to.
All right, sounds good. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Torrance Terrell, who works with Milan Hanley.
Oh, okay.
And then Sam Sturman on the marketing side.
I don't want to talk about him. No.
ESPN's Adam Schefter is reporting the Chicago Bears have agreed to trade Brandon Marshall to the New York Jets.
Welcome back here on Illini Drive. We got just over 20 minutes left, and time for my favorite part of the show is, I don't care what season it is, we're talking NFL right now. I don't care that it's March. The NFL free agency, a lot of stuff going down, especially if you're a Chicago Bears fan.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, if we were up to you, this show would be completely NFL.
Well, I'd like to mix some NBA in there. I'd like my Bulls.
But seriously, though.
Shout out T-Tone.
Yeah. We actually won't get to that today.
But we should have.
You know what though? Like, NFL's fun, NBA's fun. We just had 2 college baseball players in here who were excellent.
That was great.
Yeah.
Always great to hear it. I love the behind the scenes stuff. Just like the camaraderie of the team, because that's when every team says that they're together, whatever. But when you hear about stuff like that, it actually shows.
And it makes you, for just people listening, it seems like that's a team that can be fun to root for. Aside from the success that they've had, it makes it easy to root for them because they're just they really do have that chemistry.
Mm-hmm. But
NFL.
Actually, NFL. So as the bump played, the Bears agreed to trade Brandon Marshall to the New York Jets for a 5th-round pick. That went down Friday. Mm-hmm. And the Bears have been active, and obviously no free agency is set in stone until Tuesday. But a lot of things have been going on. They were agreed kind of in principle, as Schefter reported, with Pernell McPhee from the Baltimore Ravens. Had 7.5 sacks last year as a situational pass rusher. So, Sam, I know you were really high about him. He's getting about $40 million.
He's getting
over 5 years. Yeah.
He's getting a lot of money. He was, I think, Pro Football Focus had him as the second best 3-4 outside linebacker.
Number 15 free agent on NFL.com.
Yeah, and in the NFL now these days you overpay for guys. That's just how you get them. The Bears did it with their quarterback, and
how'd that work out?
Well, no, but more. You'd hope that you got to overpay because the market for good pass rushers is not the biggest, and teams are always looking for guys who can do that, especially the Bears who have struggled with that. But I think you get a guy like McPhee who is he's 26, so he's really entering his prime now, or at least if he's going to have a prime, it's going to be in the next few years, and you get him at a very hefty price. But I think it's a nice move, and a lot of people seem to like that.
I think the Bears were in kind of a weird situation. They had to get guys on defense rather than it'd be nice to get guys. Just with the scheme change, they played a 4-3 for so long. They need a guy that's a true 3-4 outside linebacker. Now, I'd really like to see them get a nose tackle to go with that, because that's kind of what runs the whole 3-4. Maybe Terrence Knighton from Denver. Pot roast. Phenomenal nickname, by the way. Absolutely phenomenal. But this defense needs some parts, because right now they really don't have too much.
Let's go back to that Marshall trade for a second. The receiving core, where do you see it at now? They got Alshon, they got Marquise Wilson, they got Santonio Holmes, kinda.
Santonio Holmes still around.
Is he still? I don't think he'll still be around. He's still in my frame of mind. But I know at least one disgruntled Bears fan took that to heart. I mean, when I was out and about being responsible on Unofficial last Friday, I found in the street, all dirtied and stepped on, a Brandon Marshall jersey, all torn. It didn't look like it was a good one. It looked like it got plenty of use out of it, but someone was upset enough to throw it out in the street. And, I think that says quite a bit.
Well, the happiest people right now are the people that bought New York Jets number 15 Tim Tebow jerseys, because now they are Brandon Marshall jerseys.
Well, I mean, Marshall's the kind of guy, he goes out of, or he's in Miami, and the Bears get him for not that much at the time.
It's 2/3.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a decent. But at the time, I mean, Marshall is even younger than he is now, obviously, and you were getting one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and they had said, they needed to get him out of the locker room essentially in Miami. He comes to Chicago, it looks like things are better, and then of course this past season kind of blows everything up, and then you kind of wonder, is Marshall does he only have a limited amount of time on any team that he's on until it kind of boils over, and maybe that's what happened.
And he starts trying to fight, Detroit Lions fans in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
To be fair, I will defend him. He did have reason to go to it. But, when you're a professional like that, you got to just let it slide sometimes.
Yeah, I think the Bears are now in a situation where obviously they need another wide receiver, but I don't think it's a priority. I
think Alshon can be a pretty solid number one. Yeah.
He had to do it this year.
See, the Bears had kind of been spoiled with their wide receiving core with Marshall and Jeffrey, because most teams don't have like two guys like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of teams, look at the Chiefs. I mean, I know they just got Macklin, but last year they didn't really have.
They had no touchdowns.
No touchdowns. So I think that the Bears should be okay, and maybe I'm sure they'll add some depth there just to try it out. But
I'd like to see like a complementary piece, because like Marshall and Jeffrey are kind of the same kind of guy. I'd like to see him get like a
Earl Bennett.
This is a throwback reference. I was going to go Bernard Berrien.
Yeah.
Kind of guy, to complement Jeffrey in that sort of way. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure they'll whether through the draft in a mid or late round pick or free agency, they'll get someone. But there was something else that came out. I guess it was late last night that Sam, you got pretty riled up about, is that the 49ers have allegedly been shopping Colin Kaepernick.
The 49ers actually shot down this rumor, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot.
when these rumors come out, there's truth to them.
Something out there.
Like it's they can say all they want. We're not shopping him, but I mean they're at least looking. Mm-hmm. And one of the teams named in close talks was the Bears. And you want Colin Kaepernick?
I don't love Colin Kaepernick's game, and I think that he's really been exposed in recent years. But I saw something on Twitter. Somebody had said this, and I thought that's a pretty good point. Is that we know now who Jay Cutler is, and there's really no argument of him. If you like him, then you like him. If you don't, you don't. But the fact of the matter is, he is who he is.
Yep.
He's not going to change. Exactly. Colin Kaepernick. He started this past season especially, teams kind of figured him out. He was struggling. He's under a massive contract right now. But there's still that chance that, we don't know exactly what his ceiling is yet. He's won in the playoffs, which I know, Steve, and you're right, it's not the strongest argument, but it's something that Cutler hasn't done yet.
He won in the playoffs.
He did not.
Yes, he did. He got to that championship against the Packers, and then
they beat the Saints.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then he played a quarter against the Packers.
Yeah,
he won. He got his way there.
Yes, I apologize.
But you're right. I know exactly the point you're making. I just wanted to go against. That was where my disappointment originated.
Got to the Super Bowl, and at the end of the day, what is it all about? But it's more just about this fact that the Bears. It doesn't need to be Kaepernick, but I really think that something, I'm going to sound like a lot of other Chicago Bears fans, but I mean, it's the Cutler's time, and even if you have to have him for this year just for financial reasons, he's not going to take you anywhere, and that's just known now.
And here's why I wouldn't want Kaepernick, is because he just signed before last year a 6-year, $110 million contract.
That's a decent amount of money.
And I don't think he's that kind of guy, especially without Jim Harbaugh, who's considered to be one of the best quarterback coaches in the league. And so, I know I'm not super high on Kaepernick, but again, if you're going to get rid of Cutler, you better have a plan to it better be better than Jimmy Clausen. You need to replace him, and whether that's Kaepernick or somebody or someone through
Well,
the draft.
the fact is, and everyone that's on the market right now, and I'm talking about like free agency and the guys like that, there's not one that's better than Jay.
Sean Hill.
Yeah.
He did agree with the Bears. He's coming to Chicago.
Coming to Chicago. But yeah, there's no one on the market unless you think like Jake Locker or maybe or one of these guys, which they aren't. So then maybe you turn to the draft, maybe. But even there,
it's like if you don't get one of the first two guys.
Yep.
And it's only, I heard someone say it's almost only like 1.5 sure things because you've got Jameis who pretty much, I mean, he could bust, but he's got everything you'd want to see on the field.
Yeah.
And then Mariota, who it's still a question mark with him.
Yeah, I mean, with him, and everyone says, yeah, obviously he's got the great speed and the system that they ran at Oregon was beautiful to watch. But I mean, is he a quarterback? I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, someone's going to take him pretty.
Yeah,
pretty high.
someone will take him real early, and I don't know. I agree that he's not a sure thing, but I do think there is a certain drop off after that. I mean, because who's after that? Bryce Petty, that Baylor has kind of the same.
Brandon Bridge, guy like South Alabama. That's a real player. Look him up.
Okay, all right. South Alabama, they're USA, University of South Alabama. Little fun fact for you.
There you go. I mean, people probably could have figured that out on their own, but
Thanks for helping us get there. Then.
I like to.
You wonder if there's a listener right now just going like, wow.
That's the reaction.
Oh my goodness.
That's where I don't go for the wow. I was just like,
It's a fun fact.
That's why.
Because Steve, everything I say on the show is very specifically chosen. It's very, it's on point, as they say. So
as they say.
So
as the kids say.
Yeah. So then the quarter. I mean, and I think that at the end of the day, like this Bears team, this upcoming year, it's not gonna be really pretty. But they don't really have another choice.
It's gonna take time.
Yeah.
And the good thing that they've done is they've assembled. I don't even think there's an argument for it. The best coaching staff in the league. I mean, can you think of a better ensemble of coaches?
Well, I think it's one of these on paper things. On paper.
Of course. But I mean, in theory, looking ahead, you think, wow, what a great bunch of coaches together.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we don't. But it's just. I agree, and I think that it absolutely could be. I mean, you got. Obviously Fox brought in, and then Fangio, and then Gase, who was talked about being a possible head coach at different places. So I think that on paper it's a great one, but in sports it's like on paper doesn't.
Of course.
Always pan out.
I mean, on paper, Mark Trestman was the quarterback whisperer.
After his first year, people were okay with him. People were still happy.
Yeah. I mean, they had a top 5 offense the first year.
He ended up okay.
Yeah. Well, what did he land in Tampa?
No, he's the Baltimore Ravens.
That's right.
Offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Yeah, and what didn't Harbaugh say that he's a great football coach?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think we all kind of chuckled at that here in Chicago.
We had a little giggle.
It's
a little bit of a giggle.
Kind of a giggle.
I should have played.
What about some of these other teams, though? Obviously we're kind of at a point where we're realizing the Bears' really strong improvements, probably not. But what team do you think is really going to turn around this season? Because there's quite a few teams that have made some pretty good moves.
I personally like Miami, but that division is so tough because the Patriots are so good every year. But I like Tannehill a lot. Tannehill. And I think that Ndamukong Suh can dominate a game. I saw it, in Detroit, twice a year for however long.
I mean, the Dolphins kind of had like the right idea by signing Suh to absolutely huge money. I think the most given to a defensive player, if I'm correct on that. But when you're in like a division like that, you have to get a game changer, not a guy that could be good. You need to get a guy that is going to make that impact.
Right. I mean, and it's just so hard though. Like when you can chalk the Patriots up for 10 to 12 wins and they're going to win the division. Like it's so hard to break through against that. But I mean, I think they had moments this year where they played really well.
Yeah.
I think they could take a leap forward. What about you?
I'm kind of just curious what the Eagles are doing.
Yeah, Chip Kelly is definitely moving some chess pieces there.
Because, obviously Deshaun has been gone for a while, but then they get rid of they trade LaShawn McCoy for Kiko Alonso.
Yeah,
guy who missed.
Which I liked that trade.
I liked the trade too, but then they don't. Then Macklin leaves.
Yep. Macklin
And-
to Kansas City.
Yeah, and then you kind of look at that offense. Oh, and also, it's Foles is. I know that they might be taking Mariota or something in the draft. Who knows?
They just re-signed Mark Sanchez.
Yep, Mark Sanchez.
I mean, Mark
The
Sanchez.
Sanchez return.
But you just wonder, what's Chip Kelly doing? I really don't know. What's he doing with this offense?
My personal opinion is that he believes his offense, kind of like at Oregon, could just kind of plug and play, and that you don't need to spend or have elite necessarily players to execute their system and win. Now, I think kind of they just re-signed Brandon Graham, former Michigan guy, if you remember him, defensive end. They re-signed him. They got Kiko Alonso. So I think they're trying to invest in their defense because he believes, right or wrong, that his offense can put up numbers even without some of those guys there. But they it seemed like a lot they were signing Frank Gore, but I just saw a tweet during the break that he was maybe having some cold feet there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then in that case, I know that they have Sproles, but Sproles isn't an every down guy.
No, you need a compliment
So
to him.
and
Frank
Gore
Gore would be great.
Gore would have been perfect, and still may be perfect. But if they back out of that, the running back market, you can find guys, but they had one of the best running backs in the NFL last year, and they don't now. So.
Yeah, I just think it's so hard. Like everyone has, a year of film on Chip Kelly, and I think the system itself isn't going to just carry you through. At the end of the day, it's still players still win the games, and I think maybe that's where they might go wrong a little bit.
Yeah, I think that the only thing is like throughout Chip Kelly's time in the NFL, there's always been like the going in there were the doubters of like, well, can you bring that offense in? And this kind of goes back to the idea of he can just do it with any players. It doesn't have to be any select group of guys that he can run this offense through. Then you wonder like, can that transition in college like it did at Oregon to the NFL? And that's, I guess, is the big question for them.
And think that Oregon, like he still had top 15 recruiting classes.
Oh yeah,
this is like it's not like he had a bunch of scrubs. Like Sam and I weren't the wide receivers there. No, they still had guys running 4-3.
I would like to ask him though. Do you think you could take Steve Bourbon and Sam Sherman and run an offense through?
I can sling.
He'd be like, no, I don't.
Well, what would you play? What would you do?
I always thought to be an athlete. I'd be as an athlete, and then I'd want to play a little QB, and then
simple Aaron Bailey situation.
Put me on defensive end. I'll try that out, and then maybe
defensive end at 200 pounds. Little. It's like a Rudy.
Yeah, I mean I'll try hard. I'll try hard.
Yeah.
Although we saw yesterday, I played a little ball with Steve, and my stamina is not where it never was.
Sam, what was the result of those games? Just for
we're
full
moving
disclosure.
Just on the record.
We're moving on now.
I think I want to jump back really quick to the AFC East. I think the Bills are going to be pretty good this year, or at least I like the moves that the Bills have made because I also like Rex. I like Rexy.
I like Rex Ryan.
And they quietly got Castle to go along with, and I know. I
like Rex Grossman.
But it's better than EJ Manuel. I think.
Is he better than Kyle Orton though?
Is he elite?
And then you got McCoy too. I think that's at least moving in the right direction because I didn't think EJ Manuel was getting it done.
See, Rex is like the foil because he thinks, my defense, we don't need elite players. We need to invest in the offense.
Yeah.
It's kind of the foil to Chip Kelly.
I mean, that'll be interesting. I do like Rex Ryan. I thought wherever he would go, he'd turn that team around, and I think he'll probably do it in Buffalo. We'll never know what the result was of that basketball game that we played, or the multiple basketball games that Steve and I played. But we will know who Badass of the Week is right now. Steve?
I mean, it's got to be Etwan Moore, right?
Nope.
Fine. Use your couple minutes on Etwan Moore.
Okay, last week, if you listen to the show, we talked about Etwan Moore, third string point guard for the Bulls. With Brett Lerner was in here, we were talking, and the Bulls were playing against the Thunder, and the chainsaw that is Russell Westbrook, and Westbrook put up like 43 or something. But Etwan Moore, Purdue guy, Sam, I know you're a big Purdue fan. Put up 19 points, including the game-winning three-pointer, and the Bulls got the W. So the W.
I watched that game with you, Steve, and I've never seen you more excited.
It was a big win for the Bulls, And Etwan did good. And can we just like stop the Kirk Heinrich experiment now?
Yeah, no.
Like,
Oh,
I think
yes, absolutely.
That's, like, soured in the fridge.
Mhm.
Like its expiration date was like 2 years ago.
Etwan has shown that he will not be worse than Kirk Heinrich, which is very easy to do, but that's just how it is. So throw him out there, Tibbs, and just, I don't know.
He's played a little bit more the past couple games. But
yeah.
For me,
once Derek comes back, he'll be back to it.
For me, I'm going to go back to college sports, and I know they lost, but I have not seen a dunk from Illinois anything like Ray.
Has it stripped away. Numbers for the Illini. Rice! Oh my! Ray Rice hammers it home. Oh my goodness!
That was going to be mine as well. You stole it, JJ.
That's why I knew I had to beat you to the punch there.
That was it's
phenomenal.
Dunks happen all. If you watch the NBA, you see cool dunks. Even college basketball of any sort, you see cool dunks. But like that's one where you kind of whoa.
In all my experience, all my experience, it's been like 3 or 4 years. But in all my experience of being an objective reporter, I've never had to restrain myself from getting up and going nuts. And when I saw that, are you kidding me? It was awesome.
And he was phenomenal that whole game.
Yes,
God,
absolutely.
Couldn't be stopped.
He's been great.
I haven't said that in a while, but he needed more shots.
Was that more phenomenal than the brand new academic center at Ohio State?
Have you seen it?
Let's see. My who my badass of the week is? This is really on the spot, but I'm gonna stand behind it with everything I have.
Don't say Jeff Samardzija.
Don't. That's not Jeff Samardzija, but he did make his spring training debut in White Sox uniform. Anyway, we'll get to that. We'll be talking a lot of baseball on this show. A lot of baseball, Steve. Let me look into a camera. We're gonna be talking a lot of baseball. Anyway, my guy is my boy Matt Painter.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Let me explain why.
Nope.
We talked about this earlier, Steve. Matt Painter was on a pretty, not necessarily a hot seat, but his seat was getting warm. He's been there for a while. He wasn't finding any success lately, and
especially after he leveraged his way into doubling his salary.
Yeah, well, he's getting paid bank. He's making bank. So, but that's beside the point. Matt Painter comes into this year with like pretty much no expectations, but but at the same time like no room to really be terrible either. But they really should have been bad. And this is a Purdue team that has they had some awful losses earlier in the year, but they turned it around and they're one of the top teams in the Big Ten, and there's really no denying that, especially now, right as of now.
Yep, last in the Big Ten last year, tied for third this year. Pretty great turnaround.
I was talking to one of the guys that does camera work for one of the local stations, and he used to be over at Purdue, and who he compares Matt Painter to, like as far as all the coaches in the Big Ten? John Gross. He says away from it, they're very, very similar. Away from the press conferences, away from the court, they're very, very similar. And that is interesting because in the press conferences, I've sat through Gross's all year and then not this. But, it's just different, I thought. But, it's surprising to hear that.
I'll be curious to see then if Gross has to go through some years of success and then just years of miserable basketball followed by pretty good basketball.
I think that the key probably for Matt Painter's success was getting 4 top 40 recruits in one class, but
it always
that might help.
Torrance, what you got this week?
Real quick, going back to what Steve said about Russell Westbrook, the kid is averaging 40.7 points per game and 11.3 assists and rebounds per game throughout the whole entire week.
Each one more did shut him down individually, when he was guarding him.
How much he had that game?
He had 43, but
didn't he only have 6 against Twan?
He was 2 of 12 shooting.
Smooth.
Against
right?
Etwan. Yeah, 2 of 12.
Oh, that's impressive.
Russell Westbrook can pretty much win Badass of the Week every week because he's playing a level of basketball that is like we haven't seen in a pretty long time.
Like the level that Durant reached last year and Westbrook's at this year, it just makes you think how are these guys just not?
They can't mesh together.
Yeah.
I don't think they can mesh together. No.
By the way, not so long ago, they also had the arguably other best scorer in the NBA.
The NBA's leading scorer in James Harden. Yeah.
But that goes back to a lot of these teams. You look at the Spurs, for example. It's not always about that superstar. You're wrapping me up. I want to talk some Spurs basketball.
I'm turning on the Emmys music.
But Russell Westbrook, outstanding. So we talked a lot of things today.
Wide ranging.
Wide ranging.
We're very diverse.
Thanks again, Illinois baseball, for coming on.
Got a nice little peek in the clubhouse.
Yeah, peek in the clubhouse. I'll definitely be listening back to that. That was some funny stuff. We talked Illinois basketball, Big Ten tournament starting up this week. They're going to be taking on Michigan on Thursday, the early game. For myself, Sam Sherman, Steve Bourbon, JJ Wilson, Torrance Sorrell, and and my guy, Jeff Omer, social media guru. This has been Illini Drive. Tune in next week on another exciting edition of Illini Drive where you might find out if Steve Bourbon and I wear the same shirts again. You won't be able to see it on the stream because Steve's wearing a sweatshirt, but we actually are wearing the same shirt today.
I'm going to want that basketball score.
Yes, so we will maybe get that too. But anyway, thank you for listening to Illini Drive. Catch us next Monday. Have a good one, guys.